Hi, everyone. It's so nice to be here and to meet you. I was planning to see you in person, but Zoom works just as well. It's good for me. We're all nice and safe in our homes, and that's important. Um, so, my business is called Ellen Carey Mystic, and I call myself a mystic because I choose to merge with the all. And in doing so, it has been a lifetime of study. I've studied things like as a child, and I'm sure some of you as well, was very excited about mythologies, Greek mythologies, Roman mythologies. And then I started to study different cultures and religions, spirituality, very much interested in people's belief systems throughout history and in current times, as well as history, also science. And then, as Linda mentioned, I'm a generational psychic. My Aunt Helen was a psychic medium, and she was born during the Depression, and my father and uncles were all in World War II. So they had their grandmother living with them, and they had a lot of culture from Eastern Europe. And so a lot of that information was passed down to me through my family and my aunt. Um, I had just naturally very strong, subtle senses. And so I've practiced a lot of different types of modalities to build them up. And I've also studied a lot of energy work. And all of these things influence all of my endeavors. And that leads me to what I wanted to share with you today. I wanted to give you a little insight on energy exchanges, the ones that we have with each other and other people, and also the energy exchange we have with the universe and how all this affects us and changes us. So I want to start in a science space and talk about quarks. So, if you're not familiar with quarks, if we go back to biology class, we all have our cells, and all our cells have a nucleus, and all the nucleuses have electrons and protons, and smaller than the electrons are the quarks. And then it gets smaller as well. But the quarks act like a point and a wave, they have a duality. If you observe them, you're seeing a point or a wave. And they get their energy, their movement, they are in this wave, in this frequency from the quantum field. So the quantum field, the universe in quantum physics is made up of multiple quantum fields, and these act first. These energy in this field, if you think of it as a big ocean, or you think of it as a big spiritual plane, it acts first and sparks energy of the quark. It excites the quark, which then jumps up and connects with the electron, and then all sorts of things start to happen. And I'm going to come back to this, but I want you to think of the quark as the small point of motion, and then the largest point of motion is our physical form. We are 99% energy, and the energy is a motion of force inside of our atoms. And so this vibration equals a frequency. And this frequency, the mathematics used to describe it, is the same mathematics used to describe music. It's the same language for both. Now, where sound has to go through something for us to be able to hear it, I'm taking a little poetic justice here. I would say that each of our frequencies is our own song. So that being said, when you connect with other people, sometimes that song is in harmony, and other times it's in discord. And you can feel that before sometimes we even have conversation. And you can also feel that with spaces. Like, how many times have you walked into a place and maybe had to turn around and leave because the vibration, the vibe was uncomfortable for you? And maybe you can't explain why, but you know it wasn't a space that you wanted to be in. I believe that this is your subtle senses picking up on these vibrational fields and frequencies. And that's been my experience. And so when we're talking about this harmony and this discord and how we get along and feel each other's energy, I like to put it on a scale, and I like to put empaths on one side and narcissists on the other, because it gives us a good example. And I'm going to talk a little bit about both of them, and I'll get back to the quark story in a minute. So when we're looking at empaths and narcissists on the extreme, I want you to also recognize that their qualities are something that we all hold within us. We might not be an extreme narcissist or an extreme empath, but these qualities are very human and within all of us. So let's take a look at each of them, okay? When we talk about an empath, what I'm talking about is someone whose subtle senses are so in tune that they feel what other people are feeling. They feel others' emotions. They also can become overwhelmed with the regular senses, too much noise, too much light, too many people, too much machinery. Can become overwhelming for them. So if you think of a narcissist, if you think of an empath walking through an airport, right? They're going to want to have on dark sunglasses and their hoodie up and make themselves very small to get through that airport to try to avoid everything that's inundating them. However, that's not the thing that they should be doing, and I'll explain why. But now I want to jump over quickly to the narcissist side and explain their energy a little bit and the way they behave in the world. So where the empath is picking up everybody's emotions and being like bounced around by it, the narcissist is not. Either by choice or by makeup, they are not picking up cues on how other people are feeling or their emotions, and they're not interested in that because they're very self-centered. When they enter a room, they think everyone is there for them. And they have a sense of entitlement that what they want will come to them. And they can be manipulative and go about getting what they want. And so these two types of personalities are actually, and these qualities within ourselves can be strengthened by how society kind of views these qualities and what they expect of us. So, for example, you'll see a lot of things saying you should be empathetic. Everyone needs to be more empathetic to each other so that we can better understand each other. But I would say that that can be very harmful. Instead, I look at things in terms of energy exchanges. So if we look at sympathy versus empathy versus compassion in terms of an energy exchange, this is what we're going to see. If you have sympathy for someone, your energy field is higher and theirs becomes lower. You're feeling sorry for them for a lot of reasons. A lot of times, like the most common thought when you think of sympathy might be that someone has passed on and you might be sending a sympathy card or coming to give your condolences. When there is a loss, it creates fear in us on a subconscious or a lower level because we don't want to have that thing that has happened to this person, which is making us feel sorry for them, happen to us. As animals, our basic set point isn't so much looking for happiness, it's more looking for survival and safety. That's why our flight and fight, that fear stuff comes up in us, and sometimes we don't even notice it because it's so much a part of our survival mode. And for empaths, their nervous system can be out of whack because it isn't in a stable place. So with sympathy, we're higher and the other person exchanges lower because we're feeling sorry for them. With empathy, all of a sudden our energy goes down and their energy goes up because we're taking on their burdens. We're taking on those feelings. And that is, even though, yes, we all know what it's like in many cases to have experienced something. And I'm not saying, that it's wrong to care or that it's wrong to understand what someone's going through. But when you take on that emotional burden, that's a different story. So, example, children in high school, they are very susceptible that if someone does self-harm, they themselves can take on those feelings. So if someone has self-harmed, they'll bring in psychologists right away because children at that level's minds have not fully developed, nor has their emotional body fully developed, nor their experience level. So we need to be wary of that for them. So what's the solution if we're not going to do sympathy or empathy? I lean towards compassion. So what compassion is holding a space for someone in love. I hold it with love. I see you. I understand what you're going through, but I have safe boundaries around myself. I'm not taking on your burden, but that doesn't mean that I won't help you, or at least be an example for you of another way to take a path that might get you out of the situation that you're in. So, that being said, with the empathic piece, now let's take a look at the narcissistic piece. That gets strengthened in us through a lot of different things, one being social media, because the algorithm in social media shows us back what we think we are, what our belief system is, what we're drawn to. So it puts us into a bubble of not seeing what's going on with other people's perspectives or world perspectives, unless that's really the thing that we're tuning into. Other things that keep us kind of strengthening the narcissistic qualities are dogmatic beliefs, spiritual and other beliefs that are held on to without questioning, without asking, without thinking further, delving, studying, but just owned and rigidly held on to. And also, narcissistic qualities are qualities that our society admires in many cases. A lot of people look up to political figures or corporate heads. And you have to be a bit of a narcissist to, for example, be able to shut down a factory to make more money for your shareholders and not think about the people who are losing their jobs. But on your path to manifest wealth and power, those qualities of not having a conscience about those things lead you forward and are admired, and getting more wealth and more power is admired in our societies. So these are the things that as individuals we want to keep in balance it within ourselves, because if we walk a middle path, there are good qualities of both the empath and the narcissist that can help us moving forward. And there's things that we can do to keep ourselves in balance. So when we go back to the narcissist, when we go back to the empath, for example, remember I said that they were like trying to make themselves smaller, and put up their hoodie and put on their dark glasses so they weren't taking in so much of everyone else's energy. Instead of making themselves smaller, it would be better for them to make themselves larger. So practices like Qigong, and Reiki and other energy work, even Tai Chi, these are energy practices that help us not only to understand energy and boundaries, what's our energy, what's someone else's, but they also strengthen our chi, our life force energy. And Reiki and Tai Chi and all of the martial arts, traditional Chinese medicine and Chinese spirituality all came out of Qigong. So that's like a lovely place to start. So then besides learning energy work, it's also good to learn how to work with our own intuition and strengthen our own intuition and our psychic abilities as well. Learning how to work with our subtle senses and learning how to turn it on and turn it off to keep us balanced. Also, there are things that we can do to balance our nervous system, to keep us feeling even, out of that fight or flight mode, out of feeling overly excited, and at an even pace, which is good for everyone's health in general. Along with this, for the narcissist or narcissistic tendencies, we can create rituals. And that was kind of like Mr. Blue Sky. What do you do when you get up in the morning? What's the first thing you do? Are you looking at the blue sky? Are you looking at the trees? Or are you grabbing your cell phone, getting on your social media? Where is the piece of rituals that we start our day with and move through our day that keep us focused on the present moment, focused on the things that we want to draw into our life and helping us to keep us balanced? Also, what are our rituals that help us to co-create with others so that we're thinking about the bigger picture, not just ourselves, our families, our communities, nature, the earth, the planet, the world in general? So again, rituals are very helpful for that. So is manifestation work. Learning how to manifest is a great way to keep us in balance, because it helps us to create the reality that we want to see in our lives and that we want to see in the world, versus perhaps a place that we're in that which is causing us to be in a place of fear. And then shadow work is wonderful for everyone from the narcissist to the empath and everyone in between, because we've all been wounded at some time and we all have triggers. And when we're able to be curious and bring light into those areas of our life, we then, what I like to do is I create jewelry, like a little brooch, and I wear it like a badge of honor to remind myself that, yes, I've been through something, but that's not my story. That's something that has happened, that I've experienced, that I can now use as a tool to help others to share, versus being something that I shut down. And a lot of people do carry pain and shame underneath that they aren't aware of, which then triggers them or keeps them from not feeling stable emotionally or being able to move forward in their life. So when we're talking about these energy exchanges that we're having with each other, and understanding, our tendencies, whether they be a little empathic, a little narcissistic, or running into these people out in the world, we also can talk about the energy exchange that we have with the universe and the co-creation that we're doing with that as well. So when this leads us back to our quarks. So when we're talking about the quarks, and as I said earlier, the universe acts first. It gets those little quarks excited and jumping around, and they move as a point. So when you see a quark, it's either going to show up as a point or it's going to show up as a wave. And that happens when you observe it. It's the actual observation that creates the form that it takes, so what it manifests into. So when we're doing this also with the observation, interestingly enough, it just doesn't collapse into the point or the wave and become what it is in this present moment. It also affects the history of that quark. It becomes that in its past, which I find fascinating. So this universal quantum field, it holds infinite possibilities, and it holds infinite possibilities for the choices that we make for what we're going to align ourselves with. So if we're going to align ourselves with an outcome that we desire, what that requires from us is a few things. So let's say you're in a particular state and you want to align your energy that we've been talking about with a particular outcome, draw in that possibility from the universal field. All of these possibilities from every decision that you make are stacked up right on top of each other, on top of this present moment. So if you think of everything as being in a box, you can align and reach what you're looking for by doing a few things. One is having your belief system. So we all have a story that we tell ourselves. And that story that we tell ourselves is often not the one that we would like to create. But by believing the story that we've told ourselves of our history, then our belief system then will take us out of the alignment with what we really actually want to draw in. The other thing is our expectation. If you have a ceiling, like a roof on your expectation, then you're only going to get so far with whatever it is you're trying to manifest in your life, whatever it is you're trying to do. If your ceiling is so big that you're open to infinite possibilities, that you allow the universe to send to you something that you couldn't even imagine having created, that opens you up to so much more. And to have this, you have to have a balanced nervous system, because the thing that you desire, you don't want to visualize it and get all happy and excited about it or put a whole bunch of passion into it. You don't need to do that. You want to feel like it's normal, like your house you're in right now. Well, you may be grateful for your house. When you walk into it, you expect it to be there. You expect things to be in a certain way. Your expectation of your home is a normal piece for you. And so whatever else you want to draw in has to feel like that. It has to feel like home. So a regulated nervous system is very important for that. Also, balanced emotions as well. And then the last trick to the trade of it is detachment. So the worry and the fear and the pushing does not help when we're trying to align ourselves with the next piece that we want to draw in, that next energy exchange with the universe. So we have to get around that fear, that feeling that we have to push, that we have to try harder, that we have to strive to get where we want to go. Instead, if we truly believe that we are aligning ourselves with our desire, then we just let go and we let the universe take the next step because it's a conversation. Remember that universe gets that quark excited so that our cells can then manifest life. And our life force energy can align with that universal force, however you want to look at it, whatever you want to call it, whether you want to call it quantum field or goddess or God or the infinite or the one or the all. This alignment with this energy has to come from a place of, as I said, a belief system that isn't the old story, an expectation that's wide open, a balanced nervous system, and detachment. Now, when I'm telling you all this, who do you think manifests more easily, the empath or the narcissist? Hands for the empath, hands for the narcissist. Yep. The narcissist has an easier time of manifesting. And the reason that is because they're self-focused. They have, as we already discussed, an easy form of detachment because they aren't affected by the emotions and needs of others. They have high expectations and high self-esteem. And even though they can get upset, they have an easier time regulating their nervous system because of their expectation that they're entitled to what they desire and that it's coming to them. So that being said, we can all benefit from learning more about certain things to keep us on track. So as I said before, Qigong and Reiki are great. Learning to train with your subtle senses, rituals, learning more about manifestation, which is a little bit what I was talking about today, learning to do your shadow work. Self-regulation, meditation is a part of all the things above that I just mentioned, and working with our boundaries and compassion. So I'm going to be doing some work. If you guys, if the majority of you are in Bucks County, I'll be doing some work and events at Solutions and services there. But I also am in Delaware County, in Northeast Philadelphia. I'll be in Bristol, New Jersey. I get around. So there's a good chance that our paths will cross again in person, which would be great. And I also wrote down a few things in case any of this was of interest to you. That you could do a little bit research for yourself. So some of the topics that all of this talk came from are quantum concepts that are used. One is wave particle duality. That's about focused intent. Superposition, that's where all outcomes exist. Observer effect, that's for focused consciousness and collapsing all possibilities. The quantum field in general. Then there's also the science of visualization and neuroplasty. And then if you have more interest in like just specific scientists or doctors or masters of particular fields, I would recommend reading about Richard Feynman, John Wheeler, Niels Bohr, Einstein, Erwin Schrödinger. Everyone remember Schrödinger's cat? Anybody ever watch The Big Bang Theory? That was the Schrödinger's cat. Came up a lot in that one. Anton Ziegler, and then Dr. Mikao Usi for Reiki, Liu Guxian and Hu Yao-tsen for Qigong, and then some other scientists that talk about quantum biology and neuroplasticity and quantum laws are Roger Penrose, David Bohm, and Admit Goswami.